Welcome to the Seattle Investors Club podcast with Julie Clark and Joe Bauer, where we share the nuts and bolts of real estate investing from our 20-plus years in the industry. Sit back, relax, listen, and immediately take action. Are you ready? Here we go.
Welcome to the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing podcast. My name is Joe Bauer, and I'm here with my co-host, Julie Clark. Julie, how are you doing today?
Joe, I am doing spectacularly awesome today, mainly because this is going to be probably the most important informational and life-changing podcast that we have done to date on the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate, our Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing podcast. I am so excited that Joe and I have agreed that we're not even going to have our usual banter in the beginning. I know you guys will all miss that, but we did just drop a podcast episode today. Is it today, Joe? It went out.
Yes.
That is all about me interviewing the man, Joe Bauer. So I think a lot of you guys who follow us are going to find that super fun to listen to, and you can get all your Joe and Julie stuff off that podcast. But today we have so much to talk about. We are going to jump straight into it. Today we are talking about one of the most, or the most important topic that all real estate investors need to know about, and that is legal versus illegal wholesaling, and all the little branches that come off that. We are so lucky today, guys, to have the one and only attorney Jeff Watson with us today. I know a lot of you know who Jeff Watson is, and he is the general counsel to the National Real Estate Investors Association, the National RIA. He's as well as a fellow investor, just like us. He is, along with his partner, John Cochran, the king of systems, who many of you know who that is. They're recognized 100% by me and by many other people across this glorious land as the thought leaders and innovators in real estate investing, wealth building, and also Jeff is an expert on self-directed retirement account transactions. He's on the board of Quest Trust Company, and if you're interested in using your IRA to do some real estate investing, definitely need to check out Quest Trust Company, as well as we're going to talk to you at the end here how you guys can follow along with everything that Jeff talks about weekly, daily, monthly. He is I'm going to go on and on, guys. This is in place of the banter. Jeff is the nationally recognized authority regarding regulatory concerns with wholesaling, meaning the national authority on how to legally wholesale. He is the co-author of Wholesale Reformation, which is a course that covers how to wholesale legally, is probably the only course out there that you will find that is actually telling you the truth, and everything you need to go. The only place you need to go to find out, aside from this podcast today, about legal wholesaling. And why is that important, guys? Because 99.9% of you are currently wholesaling illegally. And I'm telling you, this can get you into massive trouble. Fines, maybe even some jail time, And for those of you that are attempting to co-wholesale, that is even worse. And today's going to be your wake-up call. I promise you that. So you guys, I'm not normally serious, so I feel like I need to crack a joke, but I can't think of one. I'm so focused today. I am so focused today. Joe and I love you guys, and we asked Jeff to be on this podcast so we can all help keep ourselves from hurting ourselves, getting fined or losing our businesses and all that good jazz. So I hope that you guys understand how coveted this guest on our podcast is today. And I give a big, giant welcome to Mr. Jeff Watson. Hopefully he's still with us. Jeff, are you there?
I am. I am here. I am just absolutely honored, flattered, and amazed that the two of you guys who are just dominant forces there in Seattle, Washington, are taking time out of your crazy schedule to talk with me. It is a privilege. It is an honor. And I am looking forward to some great dialogue and conversation and banter.
Me too.
Heck
Me
yeah.
too. Heck yeah. So Jeff, or not Jeff, I'm thinking so much about Jeff, I can't even remember Joe's name. Joe, kick us off, brother.
All right. So the first question, Jeff, is always the one that gets us to know you a little bit better. And what we like to do is dig in a little bit. We'd like to know how you grew up, where you grew up, and how did that get you to the point of being an expert that you are today? So like the backstory.
Wow. Oh, wow. Well, let's just lay the ugly truth out there, all right? Let's just put the whole ugly story out there. My life is a amazing example of the grace of God. I was conceived and born in California through less than honorable circumstances. As a very young child, I was moved from California to Colorado, and then from Colorado back to Northeast Ohio, which is still home for me today. I would tell you that my home life was not ideal, but it motivated me and it equipped me to give me that burning passion that I could do better, that, the financial advice that I was hearing growing up was the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and poor, pitiful me. And a stark contrast came to me in 1983 when my favorite uncle was talking about his very aggressive and deliberate campaign to get back the $37,000 that he paid to the IRS in income taxes. And at the same time, he's talking about how he's going to do that with the very talented tax professionals. My stepdad said 37,000, that's how much I made last year. And I had that epiphany moment of which one was I going to listen to? Was I going to listen to the uncle that never got past the 8th grade, but it accumulated a couple million in residential real estate and was ongoing? Or was I going to listen to the stepdad that just kept saying, hey, it's all the little guy can't get ahead. The little guy can't get ahead. And I learned at a very early age, right out of high school, that you got to learn the tax code. You got to understand how things are taxed, how business works. And, God opened doors. I got into law school and found that I had to do something to supplement my retirement plans. And real estate was the most logical choice. And boy, just been a step-by-step process from there.
That's a good story. You know what I find interesting is that even the most experienced investors that I know, almost the last thing they get in place, they could be killing it. They could be having huge podcasts, huge followings, have all this stuff going on. And yet the last thing they kind of get in place is their tax plan, their asset planning and their tax plan. I'll say I'm even a victim of that myself, where, you're so focused on, well, let me figure out how to make that money. Then you get cruising and then you forget, probably waste hundreds of thousands of dollars because you don't put that as the priority. So we agree.
And Julie, you're so right. And I've had person after person after person come to me and go, it's criminal how much I'm paying in taxes. What can you do to help me? And just small changes that are layered upon layered, and it's, I tell people that my personal tax return is a mosaic. All these little fragments, pieces, and parts get brought in together and assembled in one tax return. And it's a mosaic that is like 25 years in the making.
Right.
And
now, don't you have a course on that too? Do you have I think you do, right? Or you did?
I did. And there's 2 courses I have, and one of them is on asset protection and wealth creation, and it's available through Note School, through Eddie Speed, through Note School. It's available that way. And then I've done another one, and I'm redoing it now, so it's temporarily off the market, regarding how to do stuff with self-directed retirement accounts. And so, as you said, my 2 passions in this world are teaching people how to wholesale legally and how to make money and not pay taxes.
Absolutely. Well, we'll have to have you back on when you've got those re-upped and cover that whole subject with you in regards to asset planning and all that stuff, because we've had Quest out to the club before, and definitely a hot topic that we all need to make sure we keep on top of. And since you're my favorite guy, we'd like to hear that from you. How about that?
Well, that would be great. That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Well, so today we're going to start off our conversation and go deep on illegal versus legal wholesaling, guys. But I want to kick this off, Jeff, by asking you, what is a Reloj? Can you tell our listeners what that is?
Sure. A Reloj is the acronym ARELLO, and it stands for Association of Real Estate License Law Officials. National organization. Go ahead.
Has that been around forever, or did it only develop once all this crazy wholesaling seemed to come out of the woodwork in the last however many years? Is it a long-standing or newer?
It's a long-standing organization. They've been around for a couple of decades or more. Their headquarters are in Chicago, Illinois, and they hold multiple annual meetings around the nation. And it's where the regulators and investigators and superintendents and other people that handle real estate license law, i.e. regulating the activities of agents and brokers in every state, get together and they compare and they collaborate and they work on mutual problems. And in the last few years, they have turned some of their attention towards wholesaling activities.
Right.
And
Scary.
I discovered that a investigator for an Ohio agency did a very detailed, without me knowing it, investigation of me and a lot of my business relationships, because he kept seeing my name showing up in educational circles when it came to how to invest. And I've discovered since then that I've also been looked at by a federal organization, and I've also recently undergone an examination by the Texas Department of Banking. And I got news for you, folks. I am a free citizen. I'm not currently under any threat. I'm not under any threat of indictment, not any threat of prosecution. There's currently, at this point in time, I don't believe I'm the participant in any legal matters. So, you know, as a participant, I'm obviously, as a lawyer, I'm involved in a lot of stuff, but so, you know, that's where we are.
So Reloj is an organization that is a watchdog, we can say, and putting more scrutiny on wholesaling and basically acting like a broker when you're not one, which is a big topic we're going to talk about today. You know what I noticed, though, when I looked up Reloj, it looks like about 30% of the states are not in it, and Washington is not one of those. I don't know what that means, but it's, unless there are things not updated there, it looked like that Washington state, our state, was not a member of that organization. Not really sure what that means, if that's good. Yeah.
I'm not sure what that means either, but I can tell you that probably some of it is due to certain budgetary concerns. But I will tell you that your state, Washington, has a well-documented history of identifying questionable real estate investing activities and then aggressively stopping it.
You hear that, guys?
So
this is why this is important today. Question for you: if an investor was to get investigated, who does that? Is that the Washington State Real Estate Commission would do that, or this organization?
In the state of Washington, it could be done a couple of different ways. It'll often begin with the Washington Division of Real Estate or its equivalent, and they could either contain it in-house or they could refer it to the local county prosecutor.
Mm-hmm.
And I have seen it go both ways. The problem is you don't know which way they're coming at you. And if the prosecutor chooses to come at you, that's not good, because the prosecutor is the one that's got the right to put you in jail.
Right. So guys, we're trying to avoid that today on the topic of this podcast. So I'm going to back it up just real quick here as we kick off, because we're going to go deep dive today, and we're going to cover just something super basic, which is really just the definition of wholesaling. I assume the majority of people listening, I hope, would understand what wholesaling is. And let me point out one thing to all you guys listening. If you're like, well, I'm a rehabber, I flip. I'm not a wholesaler. I don't wholesale. I promise you one thing: as you are cruising through this business and getting better and better and more into this flipping and rehabbing that you do, you will come across deals at some point that you're going to want to wholesale. And so just because you don't think you're a wholesaler today, because you're focusing on rehabbing when you get started, at some point you likely will be one, or you will want to be one, and you are going to want to know how to do that correctly. So I encourage you to listen all the way to the end today, because this is about you and your future and keeping you guys in line. So the definition of wholesaling, I'm going to say it how I know it to be. I actually heard you say it, so I'm just repeating what you've said, maybe with somebody else, which is to acquire an asset below market value and quickly resell it. That is one of the definitions of wholesaling. I think lots of people would say it's when you put a property under, they'd kind of go and break that apart a little bit, but that's a broad definition. Is that fair?
I like that definition, and there's several reasons why I chose the words that are in that definition. So yeah, I like that one.
Yes. And
because if you notice, I use the phrase acquire an asset.
Yes.
Which means that you're buying low and selling high.
Right. And one of those big words is acquire, right? So
yes.
Let's jump into the next question or definition. What is equitable interest? Is that a valid term, and what does that really mean?
Oh, fantastic question. Boy, you're coming at me with good ones. Wow. Okay, equitable interest is a legal doctrine recognized in some, but not all, 50 states in this amazing country of ours, where it says that you, as the contractual purchaser of a property, have certain ownership interests or rights in the property, even though you don't yet own it on title, even though you're not yet the vested owner. Such as if you have a property under contract to purchase and you're in the escrow phase and the property burns down, you may have a right to some of the insurance proceeds. You may not. Okay, it varies state by state, because some states will admit to the doctrine of equitable interest. Some states will say, no, you merely have a contractual interest. Some states will say, no, you have both. So it's it's a state by state concept.
And not a term you want to throw around, right? Without
Correct.
Knowing what you're talking about.
Yes. Without, Julie, so true. Without knowing what you're talking about. I mean, and I'll tell you what I find to be fascinating is I hear people now parroting stuff in 2018 and 2019 that was applicable 10 years ago in different kinds of transactions. Okay?
Right.
And they don't understand that it's a completely different kind of real estate transaction, so those same terms don't apply. But anyhow.
Well, here's a follow-up question then. Are there terms in a contract that could, I'll say for lack of a better word, void your equitable interest? And what is I've heard you use the word I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right, incohate mean?
Oh, wow. Wow, man. We're not getting the softball questions here. Joe, are you going to be able to toss a softball or two my way later on? Because, man, that's a high and tight. That pitch is high and tight, man. Oh,
All I can say is good luck, Jeff. Good luck.
Okay. So let's do the second half of that question first. Incohate refers to the fact that an equitable interest has not yet fully vested. All of the preconditions for me being able to fully have the legal right to that future benefit have not yet been satisfied. So in a real estate contract scenario, it means that there's still some contingencies in the contract. And so what we've got here, and Julie, you've done a beautiful job identifying the inherent contradiction that a lot of these half-baked, poorly educated wholesalers have is, oh, I got an equitable interest in the contract. I got an equitable interest in the property because I got a contract on it, but my contract has 4 easy outs for me. Well, no, you can't have both. You can't have a contract with a bunch of easy outs that you've got the right to get out of and still say that you've got an equitable interest in the property. You can't have it both ways. If all of your preconditions to closing, have been satisfied, all of your contingencies have now been removed, and your money as the buyer is now on deposit with title and escrow, now you have a fully vested equitable interest in that property, but not until.
So let's drill down on that for a second and put that in layman terms, because I'm totally following you, but I want to make sure that everybody understands what we're talking about, and I'll ask a direct question about that. So, for example, if I have a contract and there's still an out in that contract at the time I want to assign it, meaning a contingency of some sort, meaning I have not accepted as the buyer, waived and accepted, I would say waive might not be the word I want to use, accepted the property inspection contingency, does that mess me up on the assignment? Meaning I need to have that inspection completed and that contingency accepted prior to assignment. Is that accurate? And if I need an out left in the contract at the end, I might have verbiage that says I can come check out the property prior to closing. What I'm saying is that lots of people try and assign their contracts with inspection contingency still in there when they assign it. And I'm sensing I myself do not do that, because I listen to you, and if you guys want to be in the tribe in the Washington area or nationally or whatever that wants to play by the rules, Seattle Investors Club and the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing is that tribe for you. I am so sensitive to playing by the rules. I probably overplay by the rules. And so what I do when I assign contracts is I have no contingencies left. My buyer has already been in there and is good to go. And yes, if they walk out of the deal, that earnest money is going to be gone. And that's a risk that I have to take as an investor. What do you have to say about that?
I like what you're saying. I like a lot what you're saying. And that's one of the neat things about even the fact that you guys call this nuts and bolts, because we're right down to really the substance of what holds all this stuff together, what makes it all work. And so, yes, if you've got a contract and it's got an out for an inspection clause, and you're going to assign that contract, I would say that the best thing that I as the assignor or I as the assignee want to do is I'll accept the assignment in conjunction with, or I'll make the assignment in conjunction with waiving or releasing that inspection contingency, because, hey, I've been able to exercise it. And both the assignor and the assignee, the buyer and the new buyer, have been through the property, and they go, yep, we want this. We're ready to go. Okay, let's do the assignment, and let's waive and release the inspection contingency and move on. And so what we're left with now is a contract ready to go to closing with possibly the final walkthrough clause left, to where during the final walkthrough inspection the day of or the day before closing, it says if there's been a material alteration or change in the property, well, then we don't close. Okay. Right. But if it's the same thing, and the only thing that's happened is the mold's grown a little bit more, or the roof's leaked a little bit more, or the grass has gotten a little taller, or a window got broken out, or whatever. Hey, baby, we're ready. We're still ready to close. It's not been a material change, but a material change would be like, okay, so let me give you a quick example of what I consider to be a material change. Okay.
Yep.
The contract says that the seller is going to deliver it in broom clean condition. And the day before closing, you walk through there again and you find that there's still 4 tons of garbage. Hey, that's a problem. Okay. Or the seller says, hey, the appliances go with it, with all 4 units of this property that I'm assigning over to you, or that I'm selling over to you. All 4 of the appliances go with it. And when you put it under contract, there were nice, new, clean appliances. And then the day before closing, you walk through and you find out that, man, they just bought the cheapest stuff off of Craigslist and slid it back in there, and it doesn't match, doesn't fit, and so on. Whoa, that's a material problem. Okay.
Right.
Those are some examples.
Yep. And you know what I want to tell all you guys listening is, you're like, damn it, oh God, I gotta accept or waive that inspection contingency before I can assign. Let me tell you what, if you know what you're doing, and if you're a real wholesaler, it is not a problem. You know why, guys? Because you should know your buyers. You should know your buyers. You should be doing business with people assigning your contract to some person that you have no idea, you've never met, you've barely ever talked to, is just bad business in the first place, because shit rolls downhill. Okay. And that's the fastest way you're going to lose your earnest money and have a problem. So I just want to add that on top, that you guys should be focused on doing business with who you know and who you like, really. That's a big, mission of Joe and I there.
I'm going to jump in and echo amen on exactly what you just said, Julie. And I'm going to share with you a phrase that one of my business colleagues just shared with me yesterday. And they're like, when they're talking to someone about this, they're not going to let them go walk through a property until they've seen a proof of funds. Right. You want to go look at this? You want to go look at this thing, see if you're interested in me assigning this contract to you? Well, hey, before I even tell you the address, before we go look at it, I need to see your proof of funds, because you know what? I'm interested in building a relationship. I'm not interested in a one-night deal.
Exactly. And having that proof of funds language in your assignment contract is important too, guys, right?
Yeah. I mean, I want to make sure that you can perform, Well,
let me ask you another question as we keep moving forward here. What are the rules on changes to a contract after it's assigned? Because in my agreement,
dude,
yeah, I mean, I don't want.
Joe, you let her do it again. You let her do it again. That one was low inside, man. Ooh, man.
All right.
Oh man, she's bringing the heat. Whoa. Okay. Wow. That's a fantastic question. I have had this very same conversation with multiple lead investigators from various divisions of real estate. And I will tell you that if you want to bring the scourge of their contempt and their investigative powers upon you, then you try and be that little sleazeball that says, I'm the new buyer. The contract's been assigned to me, Mr. Seller, but I can't perform unless we do this, this, and this. We make these amendments to the contract. That is gutter practice. That is sleazeball slime. Okay. Now, on the same hand, if you've got a property if you've taken the assignment of a contract and you're ready to close, and all of a sudden there's some reason why both parties will agree, both the seller and the new buyer will agree that, hey, we need to amend the contract in order to extend closing by a day because of a snowstorm, or we need to extend closing a day because there was a power failure and the bank couldn't wire the money. That kind of stuff, that's perfectly legit. But it's got to be a mutually beneficial reason for why we would amend or alter the contract after it's been assigned.
I want to put a big, highlight on the words that you just said, so everybody listens. He said mutually beneficial change. That is the key that I just heard. Those are the highlighted words that I'm pulling out of that, what you just said. mutually beneficial change.
Yep, exactly. Wow.
Well, let me ask.
Man.
Keep going.
Yeah,
I got another
okay.
one.
I'm catching my breath because, man, those are some powerful questions. Woo, go for it.
Yeah,
I've dug back in. I'm ready.
Ready? Okay, here's the next one. Should you tell the seller that you're going to assign it, or does that screw up your intent to close from the start?
Oh, wow. Man, you continue the baseball analogy. What a nasty slider. Wow. That is a tough two-part question, okay? There is an argument growing among regulatory officials and bodies that says that if you assign the contract without the seller's written acknowledgement, you've engaged in a deceptive practice. Think about that one, folks. Think about that one, folks. Now, if you, and I'm going to go ahead and say this. I've said this on other podcasts. I've said this other times, and I'll stand by it. If your wholesaling business is predominantly assignments, then you are illegal. Then you are dangerously illegal and doing business the wrong way. And I ask one of two things: that you either change your business and do it right, or get out of business before you get put out of business by somebody else. If your business is primarily assignment of contracts, then you are not a legit wholesaler. You are the scourge. You are the problem. You are the bane of the existence on those of us that do it right.
And what would be some alternative options? Would be double close, right?
Double close. Take title to the property. I mean, let's face it, Julie. A lot of the people that are listening to this podcast, and I pray hundreds and thousands of people do, that they're out marketing for deals. And what are they saying? I buy houses. I close quickly. Cash for your deals. I pay cash. Well, then just be a man or a woman of your word and show up at the closing table and close.
Right.
You say you buy houses, we'll buy it.
Right.
You know,
is it possible to do close sometimes and not close sometimes? I mean, I guess it's all about back to those legal terms, your intent.
Yes.
And then we haven't talked about yet your capacity to close, but your intent. We'll focus on intent first.
Okay, so here's where I am. And this is I just in fact 2 days ago, I put out an email to my list, very modest list of probably only about 15,000 really serious investors. I put out an email to my list, and I got a tremendous amount of feedback from my list on my $9,000 question. And what I basically said is, in most of America, most Midwestern flyover America, on your typical real estate deal, if your spread in profit is $9,000 or less, then it's more economical to go ahead and just assign the contract. Yes, I expect you to have evidence that at that point in time you had the funds, you could have double closed, but let's face it, for a $9,000 or less assignment fee, just go ahead and assign the contract. You get above 9,000, and then we're starting changing the numbers, and we're starting to look at, okay, it's probably a good idea to double close. But however, you get to certain areas of this country, you get to some of the coastal states, dock stamps in Florida, taxes in New York,
Washington.
Closing costs in Washington, Oregon, California, the regulatory problems in Cook County, Illinois. All of those things would say that number needs to probably go to $15,000 to $18,000. Okay,
because our costs are so high.
Because your costs are so high. Okay, and then flat out, my clients that do business in California, they virtually double close on almost everything because they've got a sizable spread. They've got a sizable spread, and they're just doing it. Okay, there's a huge regulatory outreach and crackdown being initiated in a certain state west of the Rockies. It's not Washington, it's not Oregon, and it's not California, but it's west of the Rockies, so I'll let you think about it. that it seems as if it was triggered because some investor, and I use the word in quotes, decided to do a deal where they took a $100,000 assignment fee, and the family, the kids of the sellers, became indignant over the fact that this guy made $100,000 on their parents' house without ever doing anything for it.
Yep.
And that
was
raised. I'm sorry?
Was it a single family residence that occurred on?
Yes, it was a single family residence that occurred on, with an older seller who may not have really known what their value was. That's an issue in Colorado. Watch out for that.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful. The regulatory body in California is justifiably concerned about that, where people may not really know what their houses are worth and are selling them too quickly and too cheaply. Be careful there, folks. And this particular instance in another state, there towards the northwest, west of the Rockies, has triggered a huge regulatory investigation into wholesaling practices throughout the state. And this one guy, this one greedy, ignorant jerk, and I don't know who it is, I don't want to know, not at this point in time, but taking $100,000 assignment fee just is, it's just unconscionable in my opinion, Anyhow.
I find that interesting that you say that, because I'm both a real estate broker and an investor. Okay. And I'm a big proponent of people getting their real estate license. If you're going to be in the real estate business, why the hell wouldn't you have a real estate license? It's an insurance card. It's a discount card. It's all these things, I think there's a myth, and it's backwards. People think it's worse if you have a real estate license, like you're going to be more regulated and get in more in trouble, versus if you're a cowboy without one. And I totally disagree, because it's not hard to play by the rules if you know what the rules are. Just get off your ass and learn what the rules are, right? And what I find is that a lot of these wholesalers, I've come to find out, because I'm like, why do you not get your license? Get your license, get your license. And to me, a $10,000 commission versus a $10,000 wholesale, who cares? They're taxed the same, right? It's
Amen.
So, but what I found is the reason why some of these cowboys or cowgirls don't get their license is because they are just along the lines of what you're talking about. They're walking into these houses, which in my opinion is morally wrong. I'm talking about single family residences at this point, and they are lowballing so hard, and their spreads are, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, not even at $100,000. And the reason they don't get their license is because you can't go in there. They feel there's no point and offer a low ball like that. And then they say, no, that's too low. And in the same breath, you try and convert them to a listing. So, my MO is I walk in and I say, I provide you options. Here's what a cash offer looks like. Here's what a listing looks like side by side. Here's what another option might look like. What works best for you? But my spreads aren't $30,000, so I can have that conversation. I go in half the time and I say, I'm going to give you that cash offer because you're asking for it, but I'm going to tell you not to take it. And I'm going to show you why. And now let's get your home listed for sale. And guess what? I made the same amount of money either way, right?
Not only did you make the same amount of money, you did it with your reputation and integrity intact, and you built a relationship that may bring you more deals in the future. Oh, can you imagine that?
And I also didn't waste all my marketing dollars on trying to pick off, 5% of my marketing list or less that actually would agree to these low wholesale deals. I'm not saying wholesaling is great as a tool, for sure, right? Absolutely. But
if it's done morally and ethically, yes. But you got to do it right. You got to do it right.
Yep. So let's go back to focusing in on that question. I'm not sure we sort of got it answered, or we sort of left it in limbo, whether or not you should tell the seller that you're going to assign it. I mean, obviously, if you're doing things right and your contract is legit, you have something in your contract that says that your contract's, assignable without seller consent, right? Is that it's just assignable. That could be changing, is what I hear.
I believe that's going to change. I think you're going to see some regulatory push that's going to start west of the Rockies and work its way east, where you're going to now start to see two things. Number one, sellers need to consent to the assignment. And number two, more and more wholesalers are going to have to become licensed. They're going to have to become agents, brokers, licensees, whatever phrase you want to use. And they're going to have to comply with those ethical rules and responsibilities. And I think that's fine. Now, let's put it to you this way. Do you have to tell the seller that you're assigning the contract? Right now, legally, if the contract is written where it says, XYZ home buyers and or its assigns or affiliated entities, I'm going to tell you legally under that, you probably don't have to tell the seller. But I think you're running a really bad risk of leaving a lot of questions and confusions in the marketplace, and you're losing a terrific opportunity to build a relationship for future referrals. And I think you're better off having a conversation with the seller, such as along the line of, hey, Mr. Seller, as you know, I was planning on buying your property and we're going to plan on closing next Friday. Well, things have changed, and an investor colleague of mine wants the house even more than I do. And so they're willing to give me a little bit of money more than what I'm paying you. But we're still going to close on Friday and you're still going to get all your money. Do you have any questions about what I'm telling you?
You know what I believe, Jeff? I believe that it's all in the delivery and that it could be a non-issue. It could be a non-issue if you know how to deliver it properly. I think all these things are non-issues if you educate yourself and learn how to do things properly. And then you can sleep at night, right? I mean,
Yep.
I'm with you.
Yep.
So I'm going to keep trucking here. So one of the things that we talked about, like intent to close, let's talk about along the lines of that earnest money and what some good rules of thumb are about earnest money for wholesalers or any investor contract. And that a low earnest money, as I've learned from you, can be a sign of your intention. And intention is a big word.
Right.
We've been talking
about. So if you're putting down $10 as your earnest money, $10 other good and valuable consideration is your earnest money, you're really not that eager. Earnest money means how eager are you to perform? How zealous are you? How committed? You're really not that committed. You're really not that interested in doing the deal.
Right.
And I will tell you that regulators, when they see those kind of contracts, they're just like not impressed. It's a black mark against you as far as are they going to dig deeper or not. When they see a contract that says, okay, I'm putting up $500, I'm putting up $600, I'm putting up $300, and if I fail to perform, you get to keep that. And oh, by the way, if I don't perform in the next 30 days, I'm done. You get to keep the $500. That's something that a regulator will look at and say, okay, there's a consequence to this person. They're not stringing this seller along. We're okay with that. And I've had this. I've had these conversations. I've had these conversations with regulators and people that manage and direct investigative bodies. So I'm telling you what I know from being in the marketplace and working on both sides of the aisle. Sorry, Julie, to talk over you.
Does it have anything to do with the price, the purchase price? Because, we're an expensive market over here, not the most expensive in the country, but definitely more expensive than Ohio and places like that, I think. And so is there my minimum earnest money that I use is $1,000. But if the property is more expensive, it might be higher. And I'll tell you a little tip, secret sauce, everybody who's listening. I beat you on your contracts because I offer more earnest money because I am confident in what I'm doing. And I know who my buyers are, and I'm out there beating you because I'm not afraid to offer a real earnest money. So there's a little tip for all you guys listening right now. Not only is it going to get you in trouble if you don't offer a good earnest money, but all the smart investors in town are going to beat you on the deal. So hee-haw,
Well,
hoo-ha to you guys.
well, so here's the point you raise, and I love it. Okay, I love this. How serious are you about buying a property? Or are you one of these, what I'm going to call Neanderthal, poorly educated wholesalers that, you really shouldn't be in the business, and you're throwing everything you possibly can under contract for $10, and then you're going to just shotgun all these contracts all over the place and pray that somebody else will take your deal and you'll make a little bit of money off of it. Well, that doesn't impress me as a business model. What instead impresses me as a business model is that you've dialed in your marketing, you know where you want to buy, you know what your customers, your rehab buyers, your landlord buyers want. And so you focus your marketing in those areas, and you get quality properties under contract. You're putting down $1,000, you're putting down $500, you're putting down $2,000, whatever it takes to seal the deal with that seller. And you already have a good idea that you're going to fix this property up and flip it, or you're going to double close on it, do something to it, and then let a rehabber or a landlord come in and take it and finish it out. That to me is a legit business.
Yeah. Let me ask you another follow-up question then. Does it matter if the earnest money is deposited by the original principal buyer versus the new end buyer after the assignment? So let's say, can that, when you assign it, let's say you have language in your contract that allows you X amount of days, or that your earnest money can be deposited, buyer and seller agree the earnest money can be deposited upon buyer's acceptance of the inspection contingency. Now we're accomplishing the goal of removing those contingencies so we don't have a non-valid contract. And let's say we are able to simultaneously line up a buyer at the same time. Me personally, I always make sure that my company made that deposit from, an account with our name on it to make our contract solid, versus having the end buyer make that deposit. I just have them reimburse me as part of the assignment process.
Yes.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, my first question is, Julie, have you been bugging my phone? Because this is the exact same advice that I gave a friend of mine that only did 150 deals in Orlando, Florida last year, and I gave him this exact same advice on Monday.
I do stalk you, Jim, I will admit that, but no bugging.
I will
not yet.
I will tell you that the language that you just used is the same language that I have given to a client in Southwest Florida, a client in Dayton, Ohio, and a client in Orlando, Florida. So yeah, I love that language. That is stuff that the real smart people in this space understand and use. And what it does is it sends a message. And Julie, I'm just going to send love. I'm sending love your way, because you have either very, very, very brilliantly come up with this on your own, or you've gotten it from me another way, and I don't care which. Okay, either way is great.
I'm learning from you. I want to give credit where credit's due, everybody. Everything I'm talking about today is from Jeff Watson, no doubt. I've been following him and listening to him for a couple years now. So there you go.
So what this language does, what the language that you talked about, where the earnest money is now then deposited with title and escrow, or with the closing attorney, depending upon how your jurisdiction works, upon the buyer's completion and satisfaction of the inspection, what that's doing is it's sending a message that, A, I'm a really legit professional buyer, but oh, by the way, Mr. Seller, you got to understand, I only buy stuff that meets my criteria. And so I want you to know that we really don't have a firm deal until I've inspected your property.
Right.
And it's met my approval, because you know what? I'm going to buy your property, and I'm either going to fix it up and resell it, or I'm going to buy your property and then I'm going to turn it over to my list of rehabbers or landlords and so on. And so I'm serious, and I want to make sure that you know that I'm serious, and I want to make sure that you know that I only am doing deals that are really going to be legit deals. I'm not one of these contract it all, spray it all over the place and pray that something hits, you know?
Yep. And what about the fact, though? What about the question of, I know that would be the preferred and recommended and taught by Jeff Watson way to do it, but is there a problem if the end buyer simultaneously and on time when that earnest money is due makes that deposit to escrow?
Is that a problem? I don't think it's a legal problem. I think it's a functional problem. I think you've got to look at it and say, because someone's going to make an argument at some point in time that you don't have a valid contract without the absence of earnest money. I think the other, and that's a debate that you could rage on forever.
Well, I mean, you have earnest money in your contract, right? It's all in there. It's just who's actually making physical deposit.
But it's not been paid. And I think if you have that language in there, then you're tipping your hand that you're probably that you're assigning the deal. And so I could argue this one either way. I would tell you, Julie, I prefer the idea of you as the original buyer who's had the original negotiations with the seller, that it's your money from your entity that's put the property under contract going into title and escrow, that it's your money going on deposit, and there's part of the assignment fee at either paid at the assignment time or collected in full at the closing. That's how you get that money back as well. I'm more comfortable with that method. I think that
it's also a good way, guys, to find out which buyers are serious on those that can, nobody gets a contract assignment from you without them reimbursing you for that earnest money.
And more. I mean, I would tell you that my attitude is, I tell my clients, if you're going to, on the deals that you're going to assign, I'd like you to collect a third of your assignment fee and your earnest money back at the time the assignment contract, the contract is assigned. And you catch the balance at the closing, but you've got to have something. And oh, by the way, your assignment agreement had better say that if you fail to perform according to the terms of the contract, then the assignment is null and void and expires, and the contract reverts back to, with no money being paid back to you, Mr. failed to perform buyer. The contract reverts back to me, the original buyer, so I can try and keep the deal alive and satisfy the promise I made to the seller.
That's an extra little shiny nugget for you guys there. If you're listening, what Jeff just said in your assignment contract, to make sure you have language that it reverts back to you, and that any money they've paid, for lack of a better word, and correct me if I'm wrong, is almost like a termination fee.
It's forfeited. They forfeit it for their non-performance.
Right on.
Yeah.
That goes into, let's transition into this next topic then, because that means that if you have to have money to put down on a earnest money deposit because you want to be a player and a wholesaler, and if you are wanting to be a active wholesaler investor, that means that you got to have some money and that maybe you're not broke. So what's the problem? If any, there's a lot of gurus out there, real estate gurus that, hook people. Their hook is invest in real estate with no money, no credit, no brains, no nothing. Just as long as you breathe, you can make money off real estate. Is there a problem getting into real estate if you're broke? Not just because you don't have money to send out marketing, but maybe for other reasons, other legal reasons, such as your capacity to actually do a transaction. We haven't touched on that part. We've talked about intent to close, but we haven't talked about your actual ability and capacity to close. Lay it on us, Mr. Jeff Watson.
All right. So let me do this. I'm just going to kind of like slip into a client's slipstream here for a second. I'm proud that a certain client of mine whose company hit the Inc. 500 list last year, 2018, one of the requirements for you to come into his real estate training program is that you have to have a certain amount of money that you can commit for the next 6 months to your marketing campaign. If you don't have that money over and above the tuition, the very reasonable tuition for his program, you're not accepted. And the reason is because broke people should not be investing in real estate. And if you have been pitched with no money, no job, no credit, I got news for you. You're being sold a line of goods. Okay. You've got to have some money. You've got to have some money because you've got to have the money to market. You've got to have the money to do something. You've got to have money for earnest monies. You got to have money to market and so on. But more importantly than that, you've got to have the ability and capacity to close. Now, do you have to have the money yourself in your own personal checking account, savings account, brokerage account? No. But you've got to have spent the time, worked the rooms, created the lender relationships, networked with private lenders, transactional funders, whoever, whatever, and be able to say, hey, listen, if I get a deal where I can buy it at 55% of the after repair value, would you be able to fund that deal for me? If I can get a deal at 65% of the after repair value, would you be willing to fund that deal for me? And be able to have those commitments, either via email or letter, whatever, saying, yes, we believe that we can do that. Then you've now gotten that, you're now meeting that requirement of having the capacity to perform. So that if you put something under contract, for 65 cents on the dollar of the AVR, and you've got a private lender that says, you know what, I'll fund up to 70% or whatever, then you've got it. Then you can say, hey, listen, Mr. Investigator, when I made that offer, I was relying upon the fact that XYZ funding company had told me that they'd make that money available to me.
Or a private investor, meaning make sure this isn't just, networking shake hand stuff. Make sure they've sent you an email that you can actually pull proof that you were relying on something that is, not just verbal. When it comes
you've got to create the relationship deep enough that they're going to say, yeah, you get me a good deal in such and such an area, and I'll be happy to look at it and fund it if it meets this criteria.
And let me give you guys another tip, because our market out here in the Seattle area, as many markets probably are right now, has had we'll call it an adjustment. We're waiting to figure out where our little soft landing will be here, but we've had an adjustment. And some of my lender friends are getting 5 calls a week from people not able to pay off their second lien position investors on their deals. They can probably get their first lien hard money paid off, but they can't get the second lien position paid off because our market is adjusted down and they over leveraged the property and blew their budget on the rehab. So caution to anybody that's thinking about going into second lien position these days. We won't dive deep into that today. But one of the things, as you're a new investor or an experienced, wherever level that you're at, something to focus on right now going forward that we're learning about because of the spanking that some investors are getting in our market that are, having to drop their prices, is that when you're looking for a partner, let's say you don't have any experience, and Jeff, you can tell me if this might meet the criteria. You should be looking as you're getting started to partner with somebody. I tell everybody, when you're getting started, don't do deals by yourself. Part of your education, you're not going to make all the money, but you're paying further for your education. Partner with someone, doesn't have to be the best, good, most experienced person in town, but maybe that's somebody that's got like 5 or so deals under their belt at least, that you can ride along with, learn from, right? But when you're looking for that partner, everybody, there's a lot of investors that have experience and done 5 or more deals or 10 deals that don't have any money. That's amazing how that happens. But when you are interviewing somebody to be even if you're new, to be your partner or private lender or whatever, make sure that they, as a bonus and helpful to you, have money and they have credit. And better yet, they have a job. So they have borrowing capacity, because if you get stuck in a deal that doesn't go well, you need to be able to potentially refinance out. And you can't do that if you don't have credit to rely upon. So the best partner is somebody with experience, that has money, that has, a credit score, that even has a job. And those are the people that you should be looking for when you're going forward here, is my opinion. Just to shout it out there based on what's going on in our market today and how, people are in need of that, right?
Very, very good, valuable, wise advice, Julie. I completely agree with where you're going with that. If that's the space you want to be in, yes. And I'm going to tell you, in my world, I'm a little different. I'm a little weird. Okay. I have said this over and over and over again, and I'll keep saying it. I will never, ever, ever, ever again borrow money from a bank. I won't do it. But I'm privileged in that I have developed a network of private lenders that we're talking I've got multiple private lenders with 7-figure resources.
There you go.
And so any kind of deal I get into, I've got them to back me up. And oh, by the way, I know where their limits are, and we're very conservative on our stuff. Because we knew the adjustment was coming. And how much is the adjustment? Who knows? I mean, you guys in the coastal states, the Washingtons, the Oregons, the Californias, the New Yorks, the Floridas, the New Jerseys. It's going to take a while for you to sort it out and see where it ends up because you're getting double pinched. You're getting pinched with, you're not sure how the Tax Reform Act of 17 is going to impact your returns because you're just now getting ready to start filing those returns. You're not sure what the itemization is going to look like, what your full deduction is. You're also getting pinched with some rising interest rates, and then you're getting a little bit of the echo effect. All of a sudden everybody's nervous about the market. I'm not panicking. I do not think this is going to be a big reset like we saw in 7, 8, and 9. I don't think it's going to be that. I think this is going to be everybody catches their breath and then moves forward.
I think so. I agreed. And, the best thing you guys can do wherever you're listening from, because we do have listeners from across this beautiful land, not just in Seattle, is make sure you're connected to your local real estate investment club, because that's where you're going to find out that information. You guys should all be sticking together like we do here in Seattle, and helping each other. And, I'll say I did, as I shouted out on our Facebook page last night for Seattle Investors Club, that I make it a point to check in with Redfin agents. Redfin's pretty predominant here in the Seattle area. And whenever I get the chance to talk to a Redfin agent, I deep dive with them and I find out what's going on with you guys. How busy are you? Because they represent a lot of buyers, right? And I was able to have one of those conversations last night. And for those of you that are members of the club, check out, I went into detail on what the response was from her, but basically she said they're as busy as ever. So that gives us all some hope that things are picking up and the pace will pick it up. So go check out that post on our Facebook page so we can keep moving on here. But let me ask you another question. Some investors here in our market, Jeff, instead of wholesaling and assigning their contract, and I think this is due to our excise tax that we have to pay, which is 1.78% of the purchase price of homes, can get pretty expensive because a inexpensive home is $500,000 here if you can even find one. That they, instead of assigning the contract, they sell the LLC as a way of, the LLC is a party, is a principal in a contract, and they sell the LLC as an alternative to assigning a contract. What do you think about that?
I have a lot of thoughts on that. I've given that same strategic advice to other individuals in various transactions. I can tell you that idea has already been thoroughly looked at in states like the state of Florida, and they've adapted their laws and said we're still going to collect our doc stamps on both transactions because we know materially what's going on, because we're going to look through what you're doing, and we're going to look through the real intent of what happened. I will tell you that from a property tax standpoint. They're looking at it in other states to make sure that the tax man gets his full revenue. And the other thing I'm going to tell you is if you're going to do that, particularly if you're a party to the transaction of either buying or selling the LLC, you want to make sure that that LLC was only created for the purpose of buying that particular property, and that the organizational documents say so on the state website, and that the operating agreement says so on the says so in the operating agreement. And you're going to make sure that there's a representation and warranties and indemnification language from the seller to the buyer that survives the closing for at least a year. If I'm in that deal, that's what I want to see.
Well, guys, I'm going to tell you, we're not going to deep dive on that today, but you might want to push rewind with what Jeff just said and listen to that again. If that's a strategy that you're using, re-listen to what he said, and maybe we'll do a deeper dive on that another time. But I'm going to keep trucking here because we don't want to keep our man here forever, even though I'd like to. I'm going to keep on trucking here. Let me see what else I got here. So let's say wholesalers, the way they can get in trouble, we'll just say some ways that I'm aware of, they have contract terms that are terrible and don't show their intention to close and so forth, like we've already talked about. But another big way is marketing both to sellers to get a deal in the first place and marketing once you have a deal under contract. I mean, you could literally correctly put a deal under contract with the correct language and terms in your contract and do everything correctly. And then you could still screw it up because you market it wrong. Right? You
right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So let me talk about marketing on both ends, and because I know we're running out of time here, so let me hit this quick. Marketing on the front end. Make sure that your talk matches your walk. If you're out there with signs and marketing saying, I buy houses, I close quickly, I pay cash, then you better be closing on some of your deals. You better be paying, you better be funding, you better be closing. If you get a property under contract and you do not yet own the property, you have not closed on the deal, you do not, I repeat, you do not have the legal right under any state I've seen to sell the property, to market the property, to advertise the property in a public manner. Okay? You don't have the right. You can only market that which you own. And if you have a property under contract, you can only market the contract. And it varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, as everybody's got their own little interpretations. Okay, Ohio is different than Florida. Florida is different than Illinois. Illinois is different than Washington, and so on. They're different from Colorado. There's subtle nuances. But you can only market what you have, and that's the contract. And then you've got to be careful how you market the contract, that you're not really advertising the house. And so the rule of thumb that I've seen, the general principle that I've seen is you've got to say contract for sale. A 3-2 in the XYZ subdivision, 1,800, 2,200, whatever square feet it is. Okay? And then what are you going to sell that? What are you going to willing to sell that contract for? You know, the purchase price of the property that you got it for, plus your fee above it. Okay? And you could do that as a way of bringing in a potential buyer for a double closing. You could do that for a way of bringing in someone to just sign the contract. But until they've raised their hand, until your prospective buyer has raised their hand and says, you know what, I want that 3-2 in the Huber Heights subdivision that's got 2,100 square feet under heat and air. I want that property. And then they're like, okay, great. Show me your proof of funds, and then I'll share the contract with you.
So what that means,
okay,
guys, is that 99% of you are totally doing this wrong. You're blasting it on our Facebook communities, talking about a property instead of a contract. You're putting the address on there. You're putting the photos on there. None of that can happen. And I'm going to make it real clear to you all right now. All of those posts get deleted off Seattle Investors Club. We might not be the right place for you to wholesale your deals because we don't allow that. They will be deleted by me immediately. But let me ask you a question, because lots of people try and blast their deals through, real estate investing club Facebook communities, let's say, right? They're not the owner of that community. They're just a member of that community. Does the owner, if I allowed that, Jeff, as the owner of that Facebook community, and I allowed that to go on, and I was, like I said, I was the owner of that community, started that group, is there any recourse on me, or is it just on the person posting?
Well, there's a little bit of recourse on you. You could have the uncomfortable visit from a badge-carrying, weapon-toting investigator saying, we need access to your membership, and here's a subpoena to give it to us.
Got it.
I don't know of anybody that runs a Facebook community group that wants that experience.
No,
okay.
I don't.
I haven't met anybody out there yet that says, you know what, I love getting subpoenaed. I love having investigators show up in my office. I just love compliance with that kind of stuff. Not met anybody yet that wants that. So that's the easy version. I'm sorry?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and that is rampant. I mean, I think that is happening. And, I'll be talking to some of my friends that I love that have other Facebook investing communities that I know of, just to remind them. I think they just don't know. So I just wanted to make a point of that and ask you that specifically so I can help them help themselves, because we're already, that does not happen with us.
Let me go the next step though. Okay. Because there's going to be somebody. Okay. And I'm just kind of like picking that prototypical, yeah, but I'll never get caught. Oh, yeah. You really think that what you put up on Facebook isn't public and isn't permanent? You have just created for the public to see, especially the investigators to see, the regulators to see, your evidence, irrefutable evidence of your deliberate violation of your state's real estate licensure laws. Because you're acting like a real estate agent, a real estate broker, a real estate licensee, and you're marketing for sale a property that you do not own and for which you do not have a exclusive listing agreement that says that you as an agent or licensee may market that property. You've just put it out there for the whole world to have whenever they want it. And man, you've just put evidence out there that can be used to hang you.
Right. Low-hanging fruit. Don't do it. I'm going to keep trucking here, because you guys, if you have follow-up questions and all this, I'm telling you, I study this is the number one thing that I study, and you guys are welcome to ask me these questions as well. If I don't know, I'll be asking Jeff, but I've made sure to spend a lot of time on this. Let me ask you a question though. How that post on social media, hey everybody, I'm a wholesaler and so, I get deals all the time. Who wants to join my buyer's list? Is that okay, or is that wrong?
Well, it's a lie.
Yep.
Okay, it's a lie. So I'm not sure I'm comfortable doing business with anybody that just lies as part of their marketing campaign. Well, second thing is,
as a way to grow your list.
There's a legitimate way to grow your list. And my response is the best way to grow your list is to go, hey, if I get a good deal in such and such a neighborhood, would you be interested?
Rather than a blanket blast.
Rather than a blanket blast. Because let me put it to you this way. You're not looking for 1,000 people on your buyer's list. You're looking for 25 people that you know can perform.
That's a little bit of a mic drop moment there, Jeff. That is what I say all the time. I call it the dirty little secret of wholesaling. That wholesalers, you don't really need a big list. You just need a good 3 to 5 buyers on your list that you know very well, you know can perform. That's the dirty little secret about wholesaling. All these videos and podcasts about growing these giant lists. I mean, lists are important for other things like marketing or coaching and, other reasons. But as a wholesaler, if you it's not crucial to have a huge list if you know who's on your list.
Exactly. And I make my list 25, 30 people because some of the people that I know, they are landlords.
Yep.
And so
Valid.
they're looking to pick up
Here's
one
the
or two
bucket.
quality properties a year. Okay.
Yep.
And the rest of them are rehabbers. And they're so busy running their rehab crews that they don't have time to market for their deals. Okay, great, fine. You know,
Yep.
I can live with that. But at the same, I'm just trying to get it to people who they are legit, they can perform.
Word. One other question as we wrap up here, we get close to wrapping up. So if I have a deal under contract, legitimately, it's all good. We've all listened to Jeff Watson. We've all done what we're supposed to do. Now, can I, as far as marketing it goes, we know we're not going to do that by saying we have a property for sale on social media. We are allowed to say we have a contract for sale without any details or photos or addresses or anything like that. Side note, can we advertise that contract for sale on like Zillow or Craigslist or something like that?
Yes, as I believe you can on both. Well, that depends on Zillow's rules, but Craigslist you can. Craigslist, yes, you can. Zillow, I'm not up to speed on their little rules. But I'll tell you,
if you're a real estate agent in the state of Washington, and you have a wholesale contract, that you're marketing, you might feel like, hey, this isn't a property, this is a contract, and I'm not, acting as a broker, but the MLS and those that care might see differently, just as a heads up.
Yep.
And it really doesn't matter what you think, it matters what they think in all of this. It doesn't matter what you think, it matters what they think. You're just putting a spotlight on your back. Again, if you have a good buyer's list, that shouldn't really be necessary. And then I'm not going to talk about it today, but our local MLS in Washington State actually will allow you to list a wholesale contract on the MLS. Okay. There's complications that come with that, but there's a path to do so, and it's allowed. And if you want to know more about that, hit me up offline here so we can keep on trucking.
Yeah. That's interesting to know, because I'm currently in a state where some of the MLS, I'm currently physically present in a state right now where some of the MLS systems allow you to put contracts on and some do not. And it depends on the MLS board and rules. So that's cool. That's cool.
Yep. But let me ask you, once I have a deal under contract, and I can email that out to my private buyers list, not social media, just my private buyers list. And what's the definition of a private buyers list? Do they have to have all opted in specifically for me to sell, not sell, but to show them properties I have under contract? Or can I have photos? If it's my private buyers list, can I have photos in that? I mean, most people are going to use like Dropbox and have a link to them anyways. But
wow. Oh, man, you're going straight for the gold.
Oh, that's the important stuff here at the end, right?
Wow, this. I'm going to drop this gold nugget bomb. Okay. All right. So here's the ideal scenario. Your private buyers list is made up of people who have attended social events that you have hosted, where you are there to meet, greet, and vet potential buyers.
Hosted or attended? If you attend a local, hosted it or attended it. Let's say you go to somebody else's meetup full of investors and you one-on-one network. Does that count as that counts?
That's fine.
Yeah?
That's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm just going for the gold. I'm talking as if you were a big dog player in your market already. And people know that you're the guy, that they know you're the gal. They know that, man, if Julie gets this deal, it's a screaming deal. I got to move fast. Okay. And I've told other clients of mine, host events, broadcast the events, invite anybody and everybody that wants to be on your buyers list to the event. Vet them, screen them, meet them, shake their hand, get a gut feeling on them, ask the question, hey, if I get a good deal under contract in a neighborhood that you're interested in, how quickly can you close? And look them in the eye and be holding their hand as part of the handshake when you ask that question. And just see what they do. Now, a guy like Joe can get away with that easier because he's got a vice-like grip, and he's not going to let go until he gets the answer he wants, okay? So, but that's a screening tool that I've told some of my clients to use. And then only those people get added. Now, here's why I've told some clients to do that, because it weeds out the wannabes, the whiners, the donut eaters, and the dreamers. But it also weeds out the investigator that's looking to see what you're doing.
That show up to the meetings, maybe. Who knows, right?
It's hard for them to get permission to show up after hours to a meeting and be able to prove to you through a proof of funds letter that, yeah, I'm ready to go. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so because I'm going to tell you right now, if you're one of these, you think you're kind of cute wholesalers and you've got this big list, I'm going to tell you, your list has been infiltrated by somebody investigating you.
Yep. Well, let's say good business practice there, guys. Let's say though, now you've got your list. All these are legit people, right? They're on your private list.
Right.
You've met them the right way. You've had Joe shake your hand for you. And now the rules. Can I give the address in that email that I send out, or do I need to make them click through and raise their hand to a second step in my private?
Here's what I do. Here's what I would do. I would give them the general idea of where the property is located. And one of the little tricks I've seen is they actually include photographs of the property in the contract to where they've documented the condition of the property via photographs. And part of the contract says that the property at closing will look like this. And then there's photographs. Okay? Seller warrants and represents that the property will be in the condition as described in attachments 1 through 4. And there are 4 photographs that are attachments 1 through 4.
Interesting.
There's a gold nugget right there clanking down on the floor, folks. Pick it up, put it in your pocket.
Whoa, so you're not actually ever sending anybody a specific link to photos. It's just part of the contract that they get to review as part of their decision to buy?
Yep. You could do that process, yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
Boy,
just a little time.
Just listen to the end here today.
Well, I hope they did too, because I just gave them a good one. Just a way of doing this business legit. It's just a way of doing this business legit because there's a legitimate reason to have those photographs in the contract, because the seller is warranting and representing that they will deliver the property in the condition as represented in attachments 1 through 4. Oh, mean we got to use it. We got to write a contract that's specific for that property. We can't shotgun 57 contracts out through some auto blaster program. Yes, that's right. We got to write a contract specific for that deal. Oh, wow. We got to work. How about that? Okay. Yeah. So just some nuggets there. So Julie, on your private buyers list, you can treat them a lot differently. You can give them a lot better information and access as long as you make sure that they know. As long as you make sure that they know, hey, do not share this. If you share this and I find out, you're off my list.
Right. Got it.
This is confidential for your eyes only.
Private communication only, not for public distribution. There you go.
Or private redistribution.
Right.
Not for public dissemination or private redistribution.
Final question of the day, Mr. Jeff Watson. I promise I'll let you go because this is a big one right now. Final question, everybody. We are having a massive, and I know this is one of your not favorite topics. We have a massive, massive problem right now in Washington in the Seattle area market, which covers many counties, of this crappy co-wholesaling, daisy chaining shit that is so out of control that we need to give everybody a beat down and a slap down right now, if you think appropriate, Jeff, on why that is bad news. And then I guess I'll back that up with, is there a way to do it properly if things are done all ahead of time, agreed to all ahead of time, before any property is ever found? Is there a way to do it, or is it just no way to do it?
There is a legal way to premeditatedly plan out a legitimate joint venture relationship that is established before the property is put under contract to allow more than one party the right to market the property because they're participants in the contract. No problem. But it's done premeditated. It's done in advance. It's done with both parties having reputable skin in the game. But this sleazeball co-wholesaling stuff is illegal. It is wrong, and you will get shot down. And the fastest way that I know how to deal with it is to simply put, are you the true owner of the property? Do you really have it under contract?
Right.
And what you're going to find, and I've seen this happen over and over again, is you're going to find that people are out there selling stuff that they don't own, selling stuff that they don't have a contract on, hoping to find someone willing to pay even more money, than turn around and scramble back and go to the person who's marketing the contract and going, hey, let me get on this deal with you because I think I can sell it to somebody else and we can both make money. That is so wrong. That is so illegal. I could spend a whole nother podcast with you guys just on the right way to collaborate on deals versus the wrong way to collaborate on deals.
Word. But the word is today, guys, whenever you are looking at purchasing a wholesale deal, I guess it'll come from the investor side who's buying. Make sure you ask that question, which is, say it again, Jeff, are you the principal on this contract, or are you
prove to me that you're the principal. Prove to me that you're the principal party in this deal.
Right. And as far as any type of predetermined joint venture thing, do both parties need to be a principal in the written contract, or can there be a joint marketing agreement on a marketing of a contract where one person's a party to the contract and the other person's just their marketing partner? If it's,
nope,
I get what
nope,
you're saying.
nope.
Most people,
they gotta have skin in the game. They cannot just be a marketing partner. They got to have skin in the game as a buyer.
Got it. Okay.
They got to be a buyer. They got to be on the contract as a buyer, signed and acknowledged by the seller as a party to the transaction.
Now, does that party to the transaction have to, we'll save that for another day. That is a deep conversation right there. I won't even bother asking.
It is. We've gone long, but we've got enough stuff that we've just touched the iceberg on, that we could do a whole nother podcast of the same length when it just comes to collaboration on these kind of deals.
That's right. And maybe I will beg you that we do that on another date so we can cut you loose today, because we've ran over an hour here today already, because this is the number one podcast that we have ever done. I hope you guys all appreciate and take this all very seriously, how important this is. And we will continue to grow our relationship with Jeff Watson and continue. He is my number one go-to source for legal, how to do things the right way. And the tribe here at the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing and Seattle Investors Club, that is the mission of our tribe, is to do things by the rules. If you want to be playing along with that tribe, join us. And if you guys want to know more about, I'm going to wrap it up here, more about Jeff Watson and follow along yourself, probably the best way to do that, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, is to jump on his website, which is watsoninvested.com, where you can get access to all good things Jeff Watson. Sign up for his blog, notified of events he's getting involved in. I highly recommend it. It's going to be the number one player on your team. Hopefully I'm number two. And beyond that, Joe,
yeah.
Jeff, you have anything else to add before we cut you loose? And
when you go to my blog, watsoninvested.com, thank you so much for mentioning that. You will have the opportunity to sign up for my biweekly email newsletter where I just hand out content drip by drip by drip. And I'm doing a series right now on wholesaling and closings and all of that stuff. And I can tell you, I am rocking the boat. I know that when I send out an email to my 15,000 or so readers and I get 3 gurus to respond back to me, I know I touched a soft spot. I know I got somebody's attention.
Yep.
So.
And be on the forefront of this, guys. You don't want to be on the tail end of finding out this information. So you are a ding dong if you don't take our advice and get on get up in Jeff's world through watsoninvested.com and all these other good things. So Joe, where can everybody find all these? We'll also be putting a link to your website in the show notes. Is that right, Joe? Throw it at us here.
Yeah, absolutely. If you guys are driving around or whatnot listening to this, you can get to the show notes at seattleinvestorsclub.com/63. That's seattleinvestorsclub.com/63. And if you guys like this at all, we would love it if you'd go to our iTunes page and leave a review and hit the subscribe button, which is totally free. And you can find that by going to seattleinvestorsclub.com/iTunes. All right, guys.
And as a side note, guys, anybody who's listening, Seattle Investors Club offers free local coaching, bi-weekly masterminds on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Probably the easiest way to get involved with that is go to seattleinvestorsclub.com and get that information, or jump on our Facebook page at Seattle Investors Club where we make all those announcements. It's free to join our Facebook page. But come join us 12 to 2 p.m. every Tuesday and Thursday and learn from, like I said, the tribe who likes to do things right. Jeff, we cannot thank you enough for taking all this time today. And Joe and I, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but we have a little gift for you. Joe, do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, but we're not going to tell you, Jeff, what that is today. And hopefully you're going to like it, and you'll know when you get it that it is from Julie and Joe at the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. And I have immensely enjoyed my time, and I'm going to flat out tell you folks, those were the toughest, most thought out questions that I have ever been asked on any podcast interview when it comes to wholesaling, real estate investing, or anything else like it. So Julie, kudos to you for some really good questions.
Thank you. I'll wear that as a badge of honor. Woo! Right on, guys. Well, over and out, and we'll see you soon.
Peace, and thank you much.
Thanks for listening to the Seattle Investors Club podcast. If you have questions that you'd like to have answered on the show, shoot us an email at info@seattleinvestorsclub.com. Now go out, take that action, and build that real estate business. Thanks for listening.